So, nobody knows the infrastructure story better than our first guest this afternoon, Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming. He's the Republican leader on the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee and chairman of the Senate Republican Conference. Senator Barrasso, welcome back, sir. And I reckon you heard the riff, and you and I could agree absolutely on what's wrong with this story. In fact, you came on and eloquently talked about it not too long ago. But the question I have for you, sir, is what will the GOP alternative be?
Well, you're absolutely right, Larry. You made the case. This is a Trojan horse, what the Democrats are doing for more liberal spending and much higher taxes. You know, when you and I would be in your White House office, we would talk about infrastructure, meaning highways, roads, bridges, the kind of things that I got through the Environment and Public Works Committee that I chaired unanimously, that Bernie Sanders supported and I supported. That's bipartisan infrastructure. That's what we ought to be doing. That's the model that we ought to be using for the country. That's not what the Democrats want to do. They want to do all sorts of social things. They're talking about free community college and free daycare and free senior care. And then, of course, the punishing regulations of the Green New Deal. And you add on that all the taxes that they're talking about, taxes on individuals, taxes on businesses, and they're trying to resurrect the death tax. The difference could not be more clear. Democrats want to grow the government. Republicans want to grow the economy, and that's what we did under your leadership and certainly under the leadership of President Trump when we cut taxes. And you saw salaries go up, jobs go up, more people working. It was a wonderful day for the economy in the country.
But, Senator, let me go back, though. I agree with what you're saying. But, you know, when you and I talked, I used to talk to Mr. DeFazio, Democrat on the House side, smart guy, before tempers flared quite as much as they have recently, I suppose. But here's the point. A transportation bill, a highway bill, land surface bill, so forth, you know, maybe $500 billion over 5 years, maybe $1 trillion over 10 years, maybe $100 billion expenses per year. Does the GOP have something like that? In other words, 3 or 4 trillion or more with social infrastructure and the Green New Deal and all these huge tax hikes. That's not really par for the course. That's this transformational stuff that Team Biden wants to do. Do you have what I might call a humbler approach that might just sell better with the public?
Well, we do, because it focuses on bridges, roads, highways, dams, ports, the things that are important for the infrastructure of the country. But what the Democrats are pursuing here, and I think you mentioned it last night, they're actually working on wealth redistribution. When you raise taxes and they say, well, it's only going to be on businesses and on high earners, people pay taxes. Businesses don't pay taxes. They pay taxes through lower wages, through higher costs when they buy things. People all across the country, the middle class ends up paying the price of these tax increases, and it also costs us in terms of our competitiveness. What we don't know yet, Larry, is how much of this $3 trillion that they're talking about, how much is going to be by just adding more to the debt, and how much is going to be by raising taxes. But look, we've added significantly to the debt over the last 12 months because of the coronavirus crisis. We cannot afford to add any more.
But couldn't we, Senator, have, again, a more targeted, I call it a more humble package. It doesn't change the welfare system. It doesn't change the Green New Deal. It doesn't change this gigantic tax hike. So you don't have to raise all these taxes, do you? I mean, what about things like bonding? What about things like user fees? What about things like private-public partnerships or, toll roads in Indiana and other states? There are options, are there not, to a $3 or $4 trillion tax hike that would ruin our competitive and our jobs outlook?
Well, there most certainly are. And I think you and I sat in your office in the White House and talked about each of those specific options and looked at where it worked and where it didn't work. Specifically, some of these private-public partnerships that have been very successful. That's the way to go. And you want to do it on the things that people really need in terms of the infrastructure of the nation, the roads, the bridges, the highways, the ports, the dams, the thing that we were working on, you and I together. When we got that through our Senate committee and sent it to the House, what they did was ignored the whole thing and said, no, we're going to focus on the Green New Deal, which is punishing to our energy producers, punishing to our economy. It's going to cost us a lot of jobs, but they are just hell-bent on moving forward with this under their almost religious mantra on climate change.
So finally, sir, Mr. Biden's going to give his big announcement tomorrow. Will you and the other Republican leaders be in a position to quickly offer an alternative, something that could be easily understandable? You know, you get the infrastructure improvements we actually need. Here's how to finance it without wrecking the economy or the fossil fuels and so forth. Will you all be ready to respond or rebut his big speech tomorrow?
Well, we are. You know, Shelley Moore Capito from West Virginia is now the ranking member of the Environment and Public Works Committee. I'm the ranking member on the Energy Committee, and we're prepared to continue to put forward what we think are reasonable solutions for our nation so we can continue with our energy dominance that we've had under President Trump and move along with the kind of infrastructure that people across the country think about as infrastructure, not a redistribution of wealth in America and a growing of the government instead of growing the economy.
All right, Senator John Barrasso, thank you, sir. I appreciate it very, very much.